That was really stupid. The time has come to start routing into the top of the guitar. I've been doing a bit of prep though on the router using some little bits of insulation I got off a ribbon cable. The calibration on the side, you've got no way of knowing where the little knurled knob is as you turn it, because there's no markings on it, but there is now, because I've stuck some little pieces of coloured insulation, white, blue, green, orange, and that way I can see how far I've rotated it, because I think I only want to be rotating this about a quarter of a turn at a time. Before I route into the top of the guitar, I just need to set the zero datum of the router, so I know roughly where the surface of the guitar is, and then from there I'll be dropping it with my little marked depth gauge, probably about a quarter of a millimetre at a time, maybe a little bit more, but I want to do it gently, pass by pass, and I don't want to take more than about a millimetre, maybe a millimetre and a half maximum, because the top's only 3 millimetres thick. So let's go. I don't know whether you can see, but I've got the, hopefully you can see that, I've got the depth gauge set on 10 millimetres. I could have it at the top, but it doesn't really matter as I'm going to be doing this relative to the zero datum, so I'm going to set the 10 millimetre mark to zero datum. And I do that simply by dropping the bit down onto the work below the template, onto the bench below the template, locking off the depth gauge, and we're just going to lock that there so I can have a look at how far that's out. Yeah, it's a fun clamp this, but oh well. Was I knocking that the wrong way? I don't know. This router is not plugged in, I hasten to add. Now I have a feeling, yeah, that's slightly low, because it's the teeth on the end tend to bite into the surface, so that's gone maybe half a millimetre too low, but that's easy to fix because all we do is we just wind up the depth gauge slightly, just back it off half a millimetre, plunge it back down again, lock it off, and now that should be, that's the top, that should be about level. Yep. Right, I've got the centre line marked on the template and on, well, I say the centre line, the perpendicular, because the centre line's here and that's lined up too. So the template is in the position I intended it to be in, and I'm just going to pencil around the inside just to make sure that it really is where I expect it to be on the guitar. It's coming forward to the bridge, but we knew that. I knew that because I'm going to enlarge the bridge slightly to cover some of the tear out. However, interestingly, it's not, according to my plans, it's where I intended it to be, but I really need it to be a little bit further back that way. So I think I'm going to move this. Yeah, interesting. Need to think about this. Yeah, I've had a think about this, and I'm going to take the template back that way 2mm, possibly twisting it a little bit. I think the bridge will, my intended bridge plans will still be the same size, I think, but the template isn't quite covering the damage in the position I originally intended to be in. I measured up beforehand and I had it positioned on my plans according to where I felt it should be, but clearly it doesn't need to be this far forward, and it needs to be a little bit further back. So, right, let's try that. I think we'll move 1mm that side and 2mm that side. I think I'm happy with that position, so before I clamp it, I'm just going to put a bit of tape on. Keep it in place. The plan is to clamp it, but I've got to make sure the clamps don't get in the way of the router. I didn't want to glue it to the top of the guitar, tape it to the top of the guitar, because of getting it unstuck afterwards without just damaging the soundboard. It might be enough just to put masking tape all the way around, maybe. Obviously I don't want the template to slip. I'll be a little bit careful here because I'm clamping the guitar down to the worktop, and of course the back of the guitar isn't flat, so I've just got to be a little bit cautious about how much clamping pressure I use. You can hear it creaking. Okay, that seems fairly sturdy. One thing I'm going to do before I let rip with the router is I'm just going to carefully score the top of the guitar, just to try and help prevent any tear out. Just to cut through the fibres on the surface. Don't want to go too deep, obviously. I don't think the first pass is going to take anything off because, well, I can feel that the bit's not touching. I think the face of the guitar's bowed very slightly, so I think it might be a 0.5 millimetre lower. So let's try this. That was really stupid. Well, I never claim this as anything other than a learning exercise. I've taken a notch out of the edge of the template. However, all I need to do is turn it upside down because the bearing is running along the upper edge. So that would have been really bad if I'd kept the template where it is, but if I turn it upside down, it's going to be okay because we're not going in far enough for the bearing to actually come into that notch. Oh well, right, so let's get it all centered and taped and clamped again, and let's continue. I had a bit of a dilemma after cutting into the template the first time round. So I've got everything flipped round now. The template's symmetrical anyway, so that didn't matter. The guitar isn't quite symmetrical, but it's all lined up nicely. I've got to start the router up. But I didn't want to start the router up with the teeth in the thing, and I didn't want to use the plunge in case the depth gauge is in any way has any play in it, and I go too far. I just don't trust it for, I don't know, rightly or wrongly. So I'm going to start it up with this, because I'm only going down a fraction of a millimetre at a time. I'm going to start it up with the ruler in the way, which will just make sure that the bit isn't in the surface of the guitar, and then take the ruler out, and that way I won't touch the template. Whew, let's try that again. I've unplugged it. Oh, I hope this isn't going to be a comedy of errors. Actually, I got it the wrong way around, really. Okay, that didn't touch the surface of the guitar, so we'll take it down another fraction of a millimetre and off and keep going. So that's another ½ millimetre. I'm going to turn this round actually. That has just touched, just a whisker. It's touched the top of the spruce. That is such a clean cut. I'll try and get the camera in there to show you. I'm hoping you can see the white areas on the spruce patches. It's the subtlest of touches. I'm quite impressed by that. This is going to be a lot more gentle than I thought it was going to be. So, let's take it down another. I'm going to take it down ½ a turn, which is ½ a millimetre. So that's 2 of my little coloured bands. Oh, sticking a little bit. There we go. I'm liking this method of marking the wheel, calibrating it. So that's ½ a turn, I know that. Let's unlock it. So that should be just under ½ a millimetre. Oops. What just happened? Why is this going down? Oh, I've just ruined it. I've just undone the depth gauge. Stupid. Okay, right, got to reset. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, I think I've got it to the depth I had it before, so I'm going to give it another pass, which I suspect won't take any off, but I just want to be able to know exactly what height I'm at, so here we go. Might have taken a whisker off, I'm not sure, but we can definitely take it down from there. So let's do it right this time. Deary me. Okay, we're going to take it down ½ a turn. There we go. That's ½ a turn. Loosen that off. Drop it down. Tighten it up. Now let's see what we get. Wow. Okay, we've not surprisingly, we've eaten into the very surface of the guitar, but the area under the old bridge I haven't touched at all because, of course, of all the tear out. So we're now taking the original surface of the soundboard down at the edges, around where the tear out was. So that's okay. So, I'll give you another shot of that. Here we go. Hopefully you can see in the edges here that the surface of the guitar has been touched, and the tops of the spruce patches have been touched a little bit, and I don't think there's much light to show you that. There's a bit of shadow there, it's difficult to see what's going on, but yep, we're starting to bite. So I'm going to be subtle here. I'm going to take it down a quarter of a turn, a quarter of a millimetre. Oops. It's a bit stiff. Maybe that's because it's bearing down on top of it. There we go. Now without my calibration I wouldn't have been able to see how much that rotated, so I'm quite pleased with this little innovation. Right, that should be the subtlest quarter of a millimetre. So let's see how that works. Ooh. Yep. It's very, very smooth going. I'm really impressed with this. I thought this could be doing damage, but this is definitely the way to go. I'll show you that one as well. That is what quarter of a millimetre looks like. It's very, very smooth. I'm quite impressed. So let's keep going. Right, another quarter. Move it to the orange marker. There we go. Yep, that's dragging on the surface. There's a little bit more dust that time. Oh yes. Oh, that's looking lovely. Right, I'll give you another shot of that. That's now half a millimetre. Or 3/4 of a millimetre, depending on what you count as where it started. That is so smooth. Oh, that is lovely. Oh, I'm excited. That is one smooth surface. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, you can just see the little notch in the template there. Oops. But that's fine, it's not affecting what we're doing. Lovely. Let's go down another quarter. This might be my last pass, I'm not sure. It could be. There we go, there's my quarter. Release that off. Drop it down. Oh, I did that without the ruler, but I should feel that in there. Yeah, it's touching the surface. There's something strange going on down here. I don't know whether I just didn't... I'm going to have to do that again, I think. I just don't think I caught the edge down here, so let's go in again. There we go. I don't know whether you heard that while the router was going, but what had happened there, I had a little bit of masking tape here, and the router went over the edge of the router tape, the masking tape, as I came into this corner here, and it just lifted the bit very, very slightly, which meant that I didn't have a hard edge in this corner. As you can see, there are still some areas of tear out that it hasn't quite caught, but they're so small and you can barely feel them either. So I think I'm happy with that. I don't want to go any deeper if I don't have to. So there we go. One lovely little routed surface. Smooth. Moment of truth. Lovely. And there's a few little bits of raggedness, but it's otherwise a very sharp. Wow, that's lovely. There's still a little bit of tear out there, which I can fill, I think, and a few little whispers of fibres that have come adrift. But we've got a nice smooth finish here. In fact, remarkably smooth. That doesn't need any further finishing. So now we have to create a patch to put on that.